You'd think that Azuma's squad was already cornered enough given there's a person who could just blow up the mall at will if she needed, but Hyusee going in further with the absolute lockdown of the Escudos just goes to show how serious he wanted to get these points, but not even that was being allowed on Azuma's watch. So with this week's episode of World Trigger, we have the conclusion to round 7, with my overall enjoyment of this round being pretty high, and there's a lot that each team can take from this round as well. I think this round really showed how World Trigger is constantly pushing you to grow and learn, and by putting these various teams against each other, it almost feels like the sky's the limit for how much you can learn from each fight. The various strategies and showcasing of the on-the-fly thinking has always kept things interesting, and this episode was no different as we wrap things up. This episode starts with the aftermath of the giant hound explosion, and with half the dummy beacons blown away and the squads inside the mall making their final stands, this last portion of the fight was all about making the right call. Making the right call is something that Azuma was judging to see if Kodera and Korai could do in this match, and given the situation, it led to the call of a full retreat, and that by all means is the right call. In a game of strategy, not all the time do you have to take the fight to the enemy. Cutting your losses can be just as effective, and that is what is called into action, but it's ensuring that call can actually happen is what drives the final confrontation in this fight. Because with Hyusee making his way towards them, it's definitely a dire situation, and so that leads into Azuma taking things into his own hands by playing off of Mikumo's characteristics and just knowing how he values Chika. Even the judges knew what might happen given the bait that was aimed towards Chika but ultimately scaring Mikumo. With targets moving towards Chika, it's something that Mikumo just could not ignore. A more better safe than sorry type deal. For a quick second, we do see a little bit of strategical conflict between Hyusee and Mikumo, because Hyusee believes that it's a bait worth ignoring, while Mikumo not wanting to take that chance. The biggest issue with trying to ignore Azuma especially is that he can shoot down explosions, and if you remember back in season 1, during the fight against the Nomiya squad as well, Azuma was shooting down Zoe's barrage, so risking Chika to take another chunk out of the mall would have been the worst case scenario if Azuma continued to reign free. So what is the solution? Yuma splitting off from Hyusee to go defend Chika, while Hyusee goes to take down the rest of Azuma's squad. Now on one hand, this does solve both sides of the problem, but as such, is splitting off your attackers the best idea when it's working all match? And in this case, my answer is no. With the 2v2 turning into a 2v1, that's enough information that Azuma needed in order to work out a strategy. The final major confrontation comes down to Hyusee being taken out after being baited by Korai and double baited by Azuma, which is definitely the big brain play of the episode. By allowing his bagworm to hold a gun in place, when resummoning a second sniper, the bagworm fell, which allowed Azuma to get the surprise attack on Hyusee, with the art of deception and craftiness being Hyusee's downfall. Though Hyusee does get Azuma's leg injured, it does not result in any lethal hits, so Azuma was able to score without too much at stake. Even with Hyusee watching the logs, Azuma's craftiness itself is something you can never really measure, and it definitely got the best of him in this episode, but in a way, there was still something positive to come from it. With their legs injured and Chika continuing to bombard the mall, the full retreat does lead to the match ending. The final score, 6-2, Tamakoma-2 on top for this round. Overall, this match was pretty interesting in terms of how much new things were shown and how much the map choice played into certain team strategies. The breakdown of the match was pretty quick in this episode, but let's have a quick rundown. For Tsunari first, overall it was a bit rough. Taichi's strategy would have been more effective on somebody who couldn't have seen it coming. Had it been aimed for somebody like Hyusee, the outcome may have been much different, but with their new mid-range formation, there is definitely some promise in their future to keep the team growing stronger. Taking advantage of the map is always a good thing, but who exactly this advantage is aimed to crush is a much different story. Kage's squad definitely having the more lackluster performance overall, especially from Kage. His calm and usual sharp instincts were much more overwhelmed this match, and he was even willing to flee to ensure Tamakoma-2 didn't get that point. Not the Kage-like behavior, but with Izuru having a goal now, Kage will do what he must in order to get him on the away mission. The strength to fight for somebody can really shake things up, and I'm sure that going forward, things will get back on track for the team. As for Azuma's squad, the call to retreat definitely was something Azuma wanted to teach its attackers given his nature. It seems like Azuma has been building his attackers brick by the fundamentals, and after this fight, now allowing them to have sub-triggers. This right here opens a whole new wave of possibility just for Kodera and Korai to stand on their own. Whatever type of bullets or triggers they choose to have certainly will further their skills and team synergy down the line. Overall, a pretty good performance from this team till the end. And lastly, we have our victors. Hyusee, clearly the MVP for what he brought to the table. Seeing Escudo in action was definitely the most surprising things for many. The unknown data on his trigger set being the most cautious factor for everyone, and ended up playing positively in his favor. Kuga in a more supporting role for this match, and combined, the Deadly Neighbor duo have proven themselves to be an issue. Chica's Hyper Meteor, of course, being the jaw-dropper of this match, but honestly, who is even surprised of Tamakoma's cannon living up to her name? Overall, a strong performance and debut for Hyusee, wrapping up round 7. As for why Hyusee didn't use Viper this round, thinking ahead of things and saving another trump card for round 8 is the game plan. With unable to gain a huge advantage in this match, it came down to saving crucial tactics for when the last fight will matter the most. Hyusee is very much serious about achieving his goal, and he aims to ensure his decision will now pay off going into round 8. Speaking of round 8, we get to once again see Nanomiya viewing the match from afar. Surely his expectations have changed, but he won't show it until the battlefield proves otherwise. As a manga reader, I can certainly say that round 8 will be a fight to the very last second. With 4 days until the last round, we have quite a few developments to get through, so keep those thinking hats on and be prepared to meet some new faces. Today's episode ended with the conclusion of chapter 175, and with that is going to bring me to the end of this review. As always, if you have enjoyed this video and would like to see more World Trigger content, then make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and most definitely leave your thoughts about today's episode down below in the comment section. As always, stay safe, stay warm out there, and I will catch you guys in next week's episode.